Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And today we continue our Costco series where we go to different states and we ask the question, does these states and these Costcos have good whiskey? So let's go ahead, go on inside and check it out. All right then folks, and we are in Costco right now. So fun fact, I used to live in Arizona and it was the first state that I came to from the UK. So you could say that Phoenix in Arizona is my home state and city. Also spent some time in Tucson as well. So this is video 2 of kind of our Costco road show series, if you like. We will be definitely going to California, maybe Nevada as well, so stay tuned. And we've also already been to New Mexico, so go ahead and watch that if you haven't already seen it. Some of those whiskeys there were okay. We found a good bottle of whiskey that I've been looking for a while, but the overall spread of whiskeys was just kind of okay, so definitely go and check that one out. With that being said, it looks like they have a decent amount here, so let's go over to the whiskey aisle and see what they have. So as you can see, most of all the whiskeys kind of on the shelves over to the left here, but it's also sprinkled in the middle to the right. So let's go and hit these shelves and see what they have. So much like the New Mexico location, it does look like a lot of stuff comes in the 1.75 liters. They have the Knob Creek 9 year for $47.89, which if my math is somewhat correct, that works out about $20 for a regular size bottle, which is pretty insane value for money. So if you're in the Phoenix location, you're looking for like a daily sipper, $47.89 for a 1.75 liter 9 year bourbon, 100% proof or 100 proof, 50% ABV is pretty good. But if you want something that's not as spicy, then I would definitely go for the Woodford that they have here. Again, 1.75 liter. It's going to cost you an extra $1. Proof's a little bit lower. It is 45.2% ABV or 90.4 proof. But this is a little bit more sweeter, a little more dessert forward, a little more cherry forward there as well. So if you don't like maybe a more of a spicier palate that Knob Creek have, then I would definitely suggest going for the Woodford Reserve, something a little sweeter. Also as well, they have the Whistle Pig Farm Stock Rye here. This is just the regular size bottle, the bespoke batch, 86 proof or 43% ABV, coming in at $59.99, which is really cheap for Whistle Pig. However, I don't know about the Farm Stock Rye and what it's like. Previously, some of the other Whistle Pigs that I've tried hasn't been the greatest. So use this information how you will. I know some people do like the 10-year Whistle Pig batches. This is out of Vermont, and I wonder, is this the Canadian distillate, or is this, it doesn't really, hold on, there you go. So it has some Canadian Vermont, which I assume is their own distillate, so it's a bit of a blend. I think they source from Alberta up there in Canada, which is where they got a lot of this stuff from. So there's the Whistle Pig Farm Stock Rye. And then just go into the left here and they have a phenomenal deal. And it looks like no one's been buying this for whatever reason. And that is Old Forest at 1910. This is their new label. And that is coming in at $47.99. You're not going to find it cheaper than that. 46.5% ABV or 93 proof. So Old Fine 1910 is like a double oaked or toasted edition. It's called the 1910, but as you can see on the front, in 1910, a fire on the whiskey row led to Old Forester being rebarreled into heavily charred barrels. This double barrel expression follows the same process as the original Old Fine whiskey. So a super interesting story there. But in terms of like everyday, you can always find this whiskey. In terms of toasted whiskey, this is my favorite. Beats out Elijah Craig Toasted, even some of the Michter's Toasted Expressions, and constantly makes the Whiskey Coves a top lists of just about anything. And a fantastic daily sipper, a Friday night pour, and really just a great addition. For $47.99, you just can't beat it. Much like New Mexico, they have the 1.75 bourbon, bullet bourbons. And they have the rye there as well, both the same price. And if you're looking for something to, maybe for cocktails like old fashions, you can have the old fashioned rye and old fashioned bourbon. You can mix it up and just have some fun with them. And again, excellent value, $41.89. And then also, if we go here, we see the Heaven Hill Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So this is going to be their 7-year. And this is something that you see quite consistently in Costco's around the country. And it's always at an unbeatable price, $42.99. I've seen it cheaper than that in Colorado, like $37.99. This is $42.99, but still excellent value for money. You go to stores around the place and they mark it up $50, $60, $70. And it's just not worth that value. But for $42.99, it is solid for them. 100 proof of 50% ABV. It is 7 years old. This was a new rebranded one based upon, I think, the Heaven Hill 6 that they had. You can get the Heaven Hill 6 in Kentucky for like $30. It isn't great. This is much better. This is great value for money. Go to a Costco, pick this up, because the likelihood is if they sell alcohol, they have this in stock. Moving on, and they have a 1.75 litre of Larceny. So if you can find these Larcenys as a single barrel store pick, that is some phenomenal value for money. I know this might be a bit of a reach, but some of the some of the single barrel picks that I've had from Larceny, they're about 7-8 years old. They are quite similar to the palate of Weller Full Proof. I know the ABV is a little bit off because these are 92% or 92 proof, 46% ABV, but they definitely have like creme brulee, toasted oak hallmarks that you expect from Weller Full Proof. Again, this is a 1.75 litre, like much that they have here. And it's coming in at a really great price of $39.99. Math would tell you that is going to take you down to below $20 for Larceny, which is pretty great value for money because you're not going to find it much cheaper than that anywhere else, much like a lot of things that we'll see at Costco here today. Moving on, and they have this Maker's Mark 3-bottle cask strength series here. So they have a 2023 private selection pick, which is 2 seared French cuvee, 4 roasted French Mendiant, and then 4 toasted French spice. That was released in April 2023 for 54.7% ABV. They have the Maker's Mark Cask Strength, which is the 2023 batch, 110 proof or 55% ABV. And then lastly, which is really interesting, they have like a 4-year-old pick, 2019 private selection. This is the same stave profile as this, 2, 4, and 4. The ABV is a little different. This is 54.7, this is 54.9. So it would be really interesting to buy this. These are all 375 milliliters, so pint size. I'm going to see the difference between this pick and this pick. And it's crazy. I've seen the 2021 picks and the 2020s, but I haven't seen a 2019 for a long time. So a really interesting, fun set. However, $79.99, that's a good price, but they only have one here. So they must be selling out on this guy really soon. So if you're in the area, definitely go and pick this one up. Again, more 1.75 litres. I would probably get the Maker's wheated bourbon over the Woodford up over there, or Knob Creek. Well, maybe Knob Creek instead, but Maker's Mark is a good option. They also have Kentucky Gentleman 1.75 litres. They have some Screwball peanut butter whiskey. This is just this is like not whiskey because it's 35% ABV, so it's not technically whiskey. But this is a fun light whiskey to put in like an old fashioned if you want something a little different. They also have some High West cocktails here. Speaking of cocktails, they have the old-fashioned cocktail. This is coming in at 43% ABV, so this is good to go. You can just put it onto ice, maybe throw a cherry in there, and this should be good to go. And for $29.99, that's a great price for this because you normally see it marked up to like $40, $50, which is a bit too much for what it is. No one seems to be buying alcohol here because it's all fully stocked. So I'm wondering if they just stocked it at the beginning of the week. They have a single barrel. This isn't their own single barrel pick. This is just the Jack Daniel's single barrel for 47% ABV or 92 proof, or 94 proof, sorry. This is just like a standard single barrel from Jack Daniel's that they put out, not specific to Costco, but still a good price of $37.99. And then we also have Pinhook. So this is out of Kentucky here. Has a really nice orange wax top. I don't know too much about these Pinhooks. I hear some are really good, but like again, I can't really give an opinion on too much. But they are $39.99, so definitely worth a shot. 50.74% ABV or 101.48 proof. So it's definitely getting up there. Color is bay, section is cold. I assume they're on about the horse here. Horse name is Bourbon Resolve. What a great name. Just take a look at the back. This is a 1 litre whiskey as well. So, you know, a 1 litre craft, maybe craft. I don't know too much about it. Let's have a look where it's distilled here. Distilled at Castle and Key. Maybe that's a bit of a red flag for me. I don't particularly like Castle and Key distillate. However, it might be worth a stab for those folks at home who do like it for $40. Moving into maybe the Canadian section here, we have the Canadian whiskey from Crown Royal, 1.75 litre for $38.89. Or the Kirkland Signature, the same stuff. It does have an age statement with this one, and that is oak cast aged for 6 years at $18.99. So you choose your poison based upon your budget. They have the Johnnie Walker Blue Label. They also have an Indian single malt here, non-chill filtered double cast. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Indian whiskey, and maybe I need to get into it a little bit more. This is Rampur Indian Single Malt Non-Chill Filtered. This beautiful expression is crafted and matured, and it's hand-picked American bourbon barrels and oak sherry barrels from Europe, which would be really interesting to know which barrels they get from which distiller here in the US. But for $79.99, might be worth a little bit of a stab for those who are looking for something a little bit different. We also have this. What the heck is this stuff? This is an upside down bottle for a start, so let's flip it up. Oh, there you go, magic. Knuckle Noggin Kettle Corn Whiskey. So these 3 knuckle noggins are sitting at a bar. Again, it's upside down again, so we need to flip it back. And it says light whiskey with natural flavors and caramel carry. Right, so let's talk a little bit about light whiskey. So light whiskey is usually 99% corn from MGP. Let's see if it is distilled in Indiana here. It is produced and bottled by Knuckle. It doesn't say where it's distilled. It says produced and bottled, which it doesn't really tell you too much. It is from California. It doesn't say where it's distilled, but light whiskey is usually always distilled in MGP. 99% corn and then 1% malted barley. This is 35% ABV, so it can't technically be called whiskey. Also, as well, it does say that it has caramel color and natural flavors, which is basically another way to get flavorings into the whiskey through artificial methods, and the color, it was probably just like white or something, so they wanted to add a little bit more color. So even for $15.97, and that's a Costco closeout price, stay well away from that. We have Johnnie Walker Gold Label, $73.99. So this is when I'm feeling bougie and I want a penicillin. I will use this as the blend whiskey for that. Excellent to drink on its own, but much like a lot of Scotch, it is 40% ABV or 80 proof. And then you will just use like a Lafroig or something on top of that then to add the extra ABV to the whiskey. And to be fair, they have a pretty good Scotch selection here. Lagavulin 16 for $79.89. That's such a great price for Lagavulin 16. 40% ABV, or 43% ABV, or 86 proof. Lagavulin 16. I haven't had it for a while. I've tried it, and I know a little bit about it to know that that's a hell of a price, because Scotch drinkers out there will definitely reinforce that into the comments there as well. Dalwhinnie Scotch there, $69.99. Looks like a stumpy 15-year-old bottle. Talisker 10 years, $69.99. I think that's a little bit pricey for Talisker personally. Glendronach 12. Don't know too much about that. And again, much like New Mexico, they have the 4-pack set here, the 10-year Speyside, the Isle of Skye, Highland Skin Little Malt, 12-year Scotch, and then the Lowland for $59.99. So if you're trying to get into your Scotch journey, that's a good buy. Glenlivet 12, $38.89. Oh, there you go. That's a better price for Lafroig, $30, because I think it was $50 in New Mexico. So definitely save the money on that one. And then some Johnnie Walkers, the blended Scotches down here. And this is really interesting. I saw this earlier on. It's a Kirkland Signature rum, but it's bourbon cask. So I guess they finished it, or they used bourbon casks to age it. This is a product of Guatemala. And I don't know if I've ever seen rum from Guatemala, because it's usually from like Jamaica and the Caribbean. But $24.99 might be worth it if you like rum and you like bourbon. This might be the one for you. And then, surprise, surprise, just like every Costco in the country, they have Angel's Envy. It looks like they can't get rid of this stuff because they have a pretty good deal on it right now. And that is, when you buy 2, it's $33.89. That's a phenomenal price for Angel's Envy. Again, as I always say, don't get the single barrel picks, just stick with this stuff. This is great. And if you can get it for that price, it's even better. They have a handle of Jim Beam here for $21.89. And they also have a really interesting Jack Daniel's gift set. I think this is probably like a Christmas thing. This is a tin, so it's like a metal, and this is a 1.75 litre, and that is $32.79. So yeah, just get the Jim Beam instead for $21. But this is a pretty cool gift for someone who likes Jack Daniel's. And we are out. So that was everything. And although it wasn't really a great bourbon selection, it was a pretty good whiskey selection in general. They had a lot of good Scotch. They had some Indian whiskey. Didn't see any Japanese this time, which is really unique. But overall, it wasn't anything special for me to buy. Yes, Heaven Hill, the Heaven Hill 7 might be pretty special for a lot of people out there, and a good buy. The Old Forester 1910, also a good buy. And then the Maker's Mark, that 3-pack, is also a really good buy. And I know the sun's right in here, so hopefully it's not annoying everybody too much. With that being said though, great prices for some of the whiskey, but not something I'm looking for. We couldn't find anything special this time. So maybe as we transition here from another state to California, maybe then Nevada, we might be able to find something that can beat New Mexico. Again, if you haven't seen that video, go check it out as we drink through the world's whiskeys one glass at a time. Phoenix Costco fell a little bit short today.